Welcome, viewers, to another epic journey into the dramatic pages of our ancient past. By 332 BC, Alexander had crushed every army standing in his path. But his unstoppable march suddenly halted before an arrogant island fortress known as Tyre. Without a navy, he faced impossible odds against a massive wall rising from the deep blue sea. So he made a terrifying choice. If the ocean stood in his way, he would turn it into land. According to ancient records, the mighty Macedonian king arrived at the coast in the spring. Before him stood the greatest sea power of the age, wealthy and proud beyond imagination. The Tyrians felt completely secure behind their towering walls, amid the deep, roaring waters. They mocked Alexander, sending an envoy to reject his peaceful terms of surrender. The envoy proudly declared that no mortal army could ever cross the sea to breach their stone gates. To show a defiant stance, the Tyrians tragically silenced the brave Macedonian men. They tossed the lifeless forms directly into the churning waves as Alexander watched in anger. This fatal mistake ignited a burning wrath inside the young conqueror that would change history. He gathered his generals and announced a gigantic project that sounded like total madness. His soldiers would physically build a gigantic land bridge straight across the Mediterranean. They tore down abandoned ruins of the old mainland city to gather massive foundation stones. Thousands of strong men dragged heavy timber from the famous cedar forests of the Lebanon peaks. The great construction began in shallow waters, moving quickly over the muddy coastal seabed. But as they pushed further from the shore, the dark water grew terrifyingly deep and unstable. Would you order your tired men to fight the violent sea itself, just to punish a single realm? Exhausted engineers worked day and night, sinking massive wooden piles into the bottomless mud. They threw enormous rough stones between the timber frames to create a solid walking surface. Sweat and seawater mixed on their glowing skin as they hauled heavy rocks under the scorching sun. However, as the bridge approached the island, the Tyrians unleashed absolute devastation. From atop the mighty walls, expert archers rained down a relentless storm of deadly, flaming darts. Bronze bolts and heavy rocks smashed into the wooden frames, crushing the desperate workers down below. Alexander ordered 2 tall wooden towers built to protect his vulnerable builders. These defensive structures allowed the men to slowly push the heavy stone causeway even closer. The Tyrians quickly realized that passive defense would not stop this terrifying machine. They filled a massive transport ship with dry branches, raw sulfur, and highly flammable black pitch. 2 heavy cauldrons of burning oil hung from the front mast, ready to spill upon sudden impact. Brave Tyrian sailors rowed this floating weapon directly toward the edge of the Macedon mole. As they approached the newly built towers, the fearless crew set the dark wooden deck heavily ablaze. They jumped into the violent water and swam away, leaving the wind to guide the burning nightmare. The flaming vessel violently crashed into the causeway, immediately spilling the burning oil. A massive explosion of orange fire consumed the towers and the tragic engineers inside. Thick, black smoke choked the sky as endless months of brutal physical labor burned down into ash. Tyrian soldiers cheered wildly from their high stone walls, believing they had finally won the war. They sailed out in small, fast boats to tear apart the remaining wooden beams of the ruined bridge. Standing in the heavy smoke, Alexander's armor was scratched and covered in dark cinder ash. Many great commanders would have accepted defeat, packing their tents and marching back to safe lands. But failure only fed his extreme obsession, pushing his brilliant mind into darker places. He coldly commanded his men to completely rebuild it, making it twice as wide this time. Hundreds of whole towering trees were dragged into the sea, forming an incredibly massive base. Yet the young king realized that brute physical strength alone could never conquer the raging ocean. To win this epic siege, he desperately needed a powerful fleet to control the waters. He left the muddy construction site and marched south to gather warships from his conquered subjects. The kings of Cyprus and neighboring coastal cities quickly surrendered their beautiful squadrons. Suddenly, Alexander returned to Tyre, commanding an overwhelming armada of ships. He perfectly blockaded the island's two main harbors, trapping the terrified defenders inside. The Tyrian navy was completely paralyzed, unable to launch any more fire attacks. With the mighty sea securely under strict control, the engineers finally finished the bridge. The solid mainland was permanently joined to the island, defying the natural order. The awesome stage was perfectly set for the most terrifying display of ancient technology. The final showdown approached, and neither side would show any mercy in the coming mighty battle. Alexander then introduced the ultimate weapons, two gigantic mobile wooden siege towers. Standing well over 50 meters tall, they were the absolute largest offensive structures made. Heavy layers of raw, wet animal hides completely covered the thick timber to prevent fire. Deep inside the dark, damp towers, heavily armored crews pulled thick iron chains with absolute might. They operated massive torsion catapults, launching giant boulders at the city's weak points. The Tyrian defenders desperately fired back, turning the siege into an epic arms race. Historical ancient texts reveal a horrifying psychological weapon deployed here. They heated fine beach sand inside giant copper cauldrons until it glowed like violent red lava. From the high, elevated stone ramparts, they poured the boiling molten sand onto the Macedonian troops. The tiny burning grains easily slipped right through the small gaps in the attackers' thick bronze armor. It burned deeply into their flesh, causing unimaginable agony that forced men to strip gear. Tormented soldiers threw themselves into the salty sea, frantically trying to escape the pain. Furthermore, the clever Tyrians dropped heavy, sharp rocks into the shallow water near their thick walls. These unseen, hidden obstacles perfectly prevented the battering rams from getting enough range. In response, Alexander sent brave naval crews in unarmored boats to pull the heavy rocks away. Tyrian armored divers quickly swam out with sharp knives, cutting the thick ropes of the enemy ships. It was a chaotic underwater battle of breath and will, hidden beneath the dark, crashing waves. Eventually, the relentless Macedonian crews managed to clear the water debris away. Alexander chained his transport ships together, creating massive platforms for his heavy rams. He furiously pounded the southern section of the limestone wall, searching for a critical flaw. For many long days, the relentless rhythmic thud of the iron rams echoed across the dark waters. The Tyrian defenders threw sharp tridents and burning logs, fighting with absolute, desperate fury. But the sheer mechanical power of the Macedonian siege engines was too overwhelming. A larger section of the ancient defensive wall began to violently crack under the pressure. Imagine standing on that crumbling wall, knowing that an angry god of war is waiting just outside. In July of 332 BC, the massive stone barrier shattered into pieces. A terrifying, jagged hole opened up, exposing the vulnerable heart of the proud, civilized realm. Alexander saw his golden opportunity and signaled for a ruthless, all-out frontal assault. He personally grabbed his heavy shield and led his elite shock troops across the floating wooden ship bridge. The king aggressively threw himself into the dangerous breach, screaming terrifying, savage war cries. His armor was heavily dented and thickly coated in dark, cinematic ash, looking like a demon. The fierce Macedonian vanguard violently rushed over the broken rubble with drawn, mighty sharp swords. The Tyrian soldiers tried to hold the narrow gap, but they were quickly overwhelmed by the enormous force. Following their mighty king, the invaders brutally pushed forward into the narrow, burning city streets. The Invincible island fortress had been violently ripped open, sealing the tragic fate of its realm. What followed was a devastating downfall, driven by 7 months of frustration and deepest, bitter pain. The invaders ruthlessly vanquished every armed man they found in the smoky, chaotic alleyways. Thousands of Tyrian defenders bravely fought to the bitter end, falling quickly in the dark, thick smoke. Historical accounts state that 8,000 citizens perished during the violent final attack. The wealthy commercial hub was heavily plundered, its grand ancient temples entirely burned to the ground. Over 30,000 helpless survivors were heartlessly dragged away and sold into miserable chains. 2,000 captive men met a tragic fate along the white sandy beach as a terrifying warning. Alexander had proven his absolute, incredible dominance. No city could defy his harsh rule. He walked through the ruined streets, his notched metal sword showing the dramatic results of his ambition. The geographical legacy of this absolutely brutal siege forever changed the region's map. His massive man-made stone causeway blocked the natural ocean currents for many thousands of long years. The heavy, trapped sand slowly built itself up against the submerged ancient rocks over the many centuries. Today, the once untouchable mighty sea island is permanently connected to the Lebanese coast. It proudly stands as a chilling physical reminder of Alexander's unstoppable willpower. He clearly proved that extreme human determination could actually rewrite the Earth's geography. But the devastating cost paid in human life and extreme suffering around him can never be erased. This glorious, unstoppable victory was built entirely on top of the shattered hopes of innocence. Historical texts still debate whether his aggressive methods were truly necessary for lasting peace. Some mighty scholars praise his tactical genius, while many others condemn his terrifying cruelty. Nevertheless, the terrifying legend of the incredible Siege of Tyre echoed across the ancient world. Every surrounding kingdom quickly realized that massive stone walls could no longer save them from this new threat. The ambitious young Macedonian king had successfully broken the defensive rules of ancient warfare. He would continue marching east, bringing his aggressive style of conquest to the vast and mighty Persian realm. His mighty legacy remains incredibly complex, blending pure genius with tragic and ruthless violence. As we examine the faded dust of history, we must always question the ultimate, truly heavy price of might. Sometimes the most brilliant military achievements hide the darkest, most deceptive and manipulative deeds. We will very soon enter a new historical era filled with terrible and devastating political lies. The unique, mighty Siege of Tyre is a dramatic testament to the terrifying power of human ambition. Was Alexander a brilliant military genius, or just a ruthless and fearsome tyrant? Tell us down below. If you absolutely loved this historical journey, please like the video, share, and subscribe to our epic channel.